right, welcome to today's webinar, In the Eye of the Storm, Preparing Effective Government Crisis Communication Strategies for Social Media. We're so excited to welcome so many folks to our webinar today, and we look forward to sharing how you can start crafting a plan to handle communicating about any crisis on social media. Before we get started, just a little bit about us. Social News Desk is the only social media management software that's purpose-built for important business. We were founded in 2010, and since then, we've proudly supported America's largest news companies, cities, government agencies, schools, and businesses who require powerful, always-on social media tools. And just a little bit about me. My name is Sarah Lloyd. I'm the Senior Manager of Customer and Product Success here at Social News Desk. I'll be celebrating 10 years with Team S&D coming up in June, and I'm also pleased today to have a guest, Brian Ligon, the Communications and Marketing Director for the City of Mont Belvieu, Texas. Brian will be joining us a little bit later on for some Q&A. So first off, let's talk about the types of crises that local governments face. The number and frequency of disasters keeps increasing. Last year, according to NOAA, there were 28 separate billion-dollar weather and climate disaster events, including 19 severe storm events such as tornado outbreaks, high wind, and hailstorms. This historic number of events broke the previous record number of inflation-adjusted billion-dollar disaster events, which was 22 events back in 2020. And natural disasters aren't the only types of events that government and public agencies face. Throughout incidents, large and small, such as severe weather, cyber threats, natural disasters, gun violence, traffic issues, water main breaks, public health emergencies, and even social media crises, government communicators are essential to conveying important information to the public and to the media. Government communicators are the key to getting information out quickly, accurately, and with transparency during an emergency. Social media is still one of the quickest, most effective ways to communicate with the public in a crisis. Media outlets often rely on social media for information in a crisis as well, in between formal media briefings. And it falls on social media and communications managers to connect agencies and municipalities to their citizens and the people they serve. Regardless of the crisis, there are common challenges that government communicators face. Early on, there may be a lack of confirmed information, which can lead to social media rumors and questions, as well as misinformation out in the community. There's also great pressure from both the media and the public to respond to questions and to get more information. If an agency is disorganized, it can be a challenge to find all the correct passwords to your social media accounts and ensure that information is being shared from the correct account. And it's also time-consuming to share content across multiple social media channels and ensure that all of those accounts stay up to date. Finally, it's critical to get the correct information out in a timely fashion. Social News Desk is battle-tested by thousands of communicators daily in municipalities, school districts, universities, journalism, and meteorology. Our consolidated social media tool allows for updating multiple channels at once. And since social accounts are onboarded in advance, users already have access to the accounts they need to get the job done without having to share passwords. This helps to reduce errors and keeps users from accidentally publishing to personal accounts. Our easy-to-use tool allows for quick updates and a comprehensive view of all scheduled posts, making it easy to pause any upcoming content in the middle of a crisis. And when a crisis occurs, it's critical to have a playbook to ensure that information is handled correctly, quickly, and with empathy. The basic tenets of crisis communications are to prepare ahead of time, act decisively, respond as necessary, and review after the fact to continue to prepare for the next incident. The first part of our playbook is to prepare. It's crucial to start planning for a crisis before it happens so that you can save time and execute your plan when seconds count. First, drill and practice key skills so that your staff is comfortable in a crisis. Practice writing statements, creating videos and infographics, and drafting social media posts. You can use events in other communities to run crisis drills and keep your skills sharp. Educate your staff in advance on your agency's policy for appropriate social media use during a crisis, and encourage them to share only from official municipal communications channels if necessary. You might consider drafting a standby statement. Marketing and communications consultant Tim Fitzpatrick suggests that a standby statement is the unsung hero of crisis communications planning. When media calls come rolling in and you have no information or information is still not fully confirmed, you want to be able to say something in order to communicate that your organization is engaged and responsive. Your generic standby statement should have 3 major elements that can be very quickly updated with whatever specifics are known at the time. First, you need to communicate awareness and engagement, such as we are aware of X event. Second, you need to communicate your values and empathy. We're committed to safety or the other core values that are unique to your organization. And finally, you need to communicate a commitment to ongoing communication. We are committed to providing timely updates. Preparing your social media accounts for action saves time and headache in the middle of a crisis. Audit your social media permissions regularly by checking page roles in Meta Business Manager and minimizing the number of page admins that have full access to your accounts. We also recommend changing passwords frequently and keeping them secure. Centralizing your social media publishing in a tool like Social News Desk can also ensure that your staff can publish to multiple platforms or accounts at one time, which saves time and also ensures that you don't have to share passwords for your social media accounts. This also adds another layer of security and reduces the likelihood of errors, such as publishing content to personal accounts instead of to official social media. Be sure your social media stakeholders are trained in the tools they need during a crisis. This may include your social media management software of choice, your graphic design software like Canva or Photoshop, or any live streaming apps that you use. We have a stakeholder plan template that you can download and fill out for your social media stakeholders. You can scan the QR code on the screen, and we'll also have that available at the end of today's presentation. In addition, it's also important to continue to nurture goodwill with your audience on a regular basis. Building trust and goodwill with your followers on sunny days helps to ensure that they turn to you for official information when times are tough. Finally, regularly monitor social media channels to identify potential crises before they happen. You could use a tool like S&D's Search and Listen to keep tabs on media outlets in your area, surrounding agencies, and local next-door conversations from neighbors. Now, if you've done your preparation, when a crisis hits, your team will be ready to pull out your crisis plan and act. Designate a point person first to handle social media and make sure they're in the loop during ongoing crisis communications discussions. Connect your point person with stakeholders in the appropriate municipal departments to confirm information, get updates, and ask questions as necessary. Having one point person to handle social ensures unified messaging across all social channels without having too many cooks in the kitchen. Be sure to pause all of your scheduled or automated content for all of your social accounts for the duration of the crisis. That way, only critical information is being shared, reducing noise, and ensuring a unified voice. Using a single social media management tool also helps with this. Craft unified messaging and route all official communications through your main social accounts. If necessary, publish content on any other involved agency or municipal pages to encourage followers of those pages to check your main page for updates. As the crisis unfolds, be transparent and timely with your updates. In situations where your agency is directly affected, your organization should be the first to communicate in order to control the message. Update as frequently as possible. Regular updates can help counter misinformation. And be as right as you can with the information you have at the time. If you make a mistake, own up to it and move on. The public is much more likely to forgive a mistake than a cover-up. And it's generally understood that what we know about a crisis will change as the situation develops. So be flexible in correcting and updating information. Promote action in your content. Give simple, clear requests if you need to motivate people to do something, such as evacuate now or go inside and stay inside. The community wants to feel like they can help in a situation, and giving instructions can help them feel empowered. Use plain language and avoid jargon wherever possible. This helps to keep your messaging clear and focused so citizens will understand the actions they should take, if any. Use visual content such as infographics, videos, and images. Visual content can help convey information more effectively and is more eye-catching than large blocks of text. especially on social media as people are scrolling through their feeds. As the crisis continues, it's important to remember that communications is a two-way street. It's incumbent upon government communicators to listen and respond as the situation unfolds. Use social listening to monitor social media comments and replies. This can be as simple as reading through comments as you wait for updates, or using a dedicated tool like Search and Listen to monitor the overall conversation. As necessary, respond to comments if you need to address misinformation or answer questions. Correct misinformation in the comments if it's manageable, or consider creating content and sharing from your main pages if there are rumors circulating in the community. Again, we want to be transparent and timely in order to cut down on opportunities for misinformation to spread. And as the situation unfolds, you may consider editing your social posts if possible to reflect updated information. This is especially important for situations where a call to action is no longer applicable, such as a shelter-in-place order. As you monitor the conversation, pay attention to what citizens are asking in the comments or in your mentions. This can help guide any questions that you're asking other departments to get information, and answering citizen questions lets them know that you're listening. Be sure to express empathy in any posts or responses during the crisis. Be sensitive to all those affected, as well as their families, who are also likely looking for updates on social media. Sometimes people will lash out in the comments, but that's usually because they're seeking more information. Updating regularly with empathy can help to mitigate harsh comments from the community. Finally, after the crisis has passed, take some time to review your communications efforts and adjust your future communications plans. After the immediate crisis has passed, do a postmortem to identify what worked well and where there are opportunities to improve in the future. Gather feedback from social stakeholders and folks from other departments who are involved in managing the crisis in order to improve future protocols. Continue to engage with your audience post-crisis. Keep the lines of communication open, and remember that there is still a need for information after the fact. And review your overall communication goals. Did you achieve what you set out to achieve? Review your metrics to determine what messaging reached the most people or what was most widely shared, depending on the goals that you have. Build on your crisis playbook or create a knowledge base to improve preparedness for future crises. Take all that you've learned and put it into action for the next time. And now I would like to welcome Brian Ligon, the Communications and Marketing Director for the City of Mont Belvieu, Texas. Full disclosure, Brian and I worked together way back in the day at KVU in Austin, Texas, so we go way back. Brian, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. You know, it's funny you brought up our time together at KVU just this morning. My Facebook memory was 15 years ago today, and I think you remember this day. 15 years ago today, Brian Posehn, the comedian, was at the station, and I know you and I were both pretty anxious to get to meet him and take pictures, and so that was fun. I was like, hey, I get to see Sarah today, and it was a KVU memory that popped up. So it's great to be with you.
You just called me out on how long ago it was, so I wasn't gonna say, but that's all right. All right, well, Brian, first, can you tell us a little bit about your community of Mont Belvieu and what is unique about it?
Sure. Mont Belvieu, I've been with the city of Mont Belvieu for 6 years now. I was hired as the city's first full-time communicator, and this is a fast-growing community. We are just east of the Houston Metro, and we are between Houston and Beaumont, right on I-10. Actually, you can see from the map there, we're the intersection of I-10 and the new 99, which is the toll loop around Houston. We are like I said, a rapidly growing community. In the time I've been here, we went from roughly 6,000 to now we're quickly cresting 12,000 people here. And we are the global hub of natural gas liquids. So the city's really in two pieces. We have our industrial side of town, and then we have our residential side of town where everyone lives. So we sit, as you can again see from the map, we are very close to the coast, the Texas coast, and that presents particular challenges and opportunities, as does our industrial base, as does the growth in our community and everything else. So crisis communications is one of those things that I definitely have to stay on top of.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me actually to our first question. How do you keep yourself and your team ready to handle a crisis communication scenario?
Uh, I will go ahead and speak for my entire team of three and say this is the one thing that keeps us all up at night, is just that preparedness. Um, we do on a regular basis uh, work with other stakeholders to make sure that we're in lockstep with them, just in case. We do review our plans and policies often. Matter of fact, just this year, we now have a physical, not just digital copies, but a physical binder that goes inside of a big plastic tub, and that big plastic tub is the communications department on the go. That it has everything that we need when we have to be out of the office, either moving to a scene or when we are moving into the EOC for an activation, that we have the supplies that we need. We have our plan with us, a physical plan, so that anybody that sits down can literally open up a binder. And if you panic or if something isn't going to plan, you can find your place and find resources to get you back on track. And this is something that the three of us, have really worked hard on, especially this last year, uh, to make sure that we're more than prepared to respond during a crisis in our community.
Yeah, and how does social media readiness factor into your plans and your readiness drills?
We've worked really hard on actually a couple of things that you mentioned. One is that standby statement. You've got to have that ready to go. If you have that, you buy yourself time. You can acknowledge, you can be empathetic, and then you can let people know this is fluid and we're working to get all the information we can. We'll be right back. It's like if you're a parent telling your kid, they're looking at you like, well, I don't, hey, you're leaving me at daycare for the first time. It's like, I'll be right back. Just give me a minute. It's like I have to let me handle this, and I'll be right back. And as long as you can let your residents know that that's what's ahead, they'll hang with you. A great tip, honestly, um, put yourself on a deadline. You can issue that first thing and say, we will give we'll give additional information in 30 minutes, but you better meet that 30 minutes and give any additional information you have at that time. Set that expectation, put yourself on deadlines so that your community then understands you are working for them, and
And
you're
we'll be
holding,
right
and
back.
yeah, and you'll be right back, and you're holding yourself accountable. No matter how busy things get, I will be back in 30 minutes and I will give you more information. That's that's really one of the key things. Something else, prep your graphics ahead of time. Think of the things that are common in your community, and get on Canva or whatever your preferred platform is. Build those graphics now, those social graphics. Build formats that are acceptable on Facebook, Insta, X, all the things, threads, all the things that you use. Um, Make sure you have something that works uh, either uniquely for those platforms or that can be used across platforms, and then you're ready. Tornado, uh, uh, fire, wildfire, whatever it is for your community, build that now. Brand it, give it official branding, give it a look. Um, that's one of the things that I've worked with my communication specialist here, who does not come from a news background like you and I do, Sarah. And I said, we're going to give this, when we get into crisis mode, everything changes. It's not, it's not happy. It's not, it is, it's going to have a news look, and we're going to stay with that look throughout the incident. So everyone, because we tend to be pretty conversational in our day-to-day social, that's the tone that our community enjoys. And so when we shift tone and when we shift look, suddenly everyone sits up and they're like, oh, they're not kidding. Oh,
Yeah,
this, yeah, I better listen. And we found that that works very effectively.
that's great. Yeah. And that kind of leads me into my next question. What types of events usually will put you guys into crisis communication mode and have you do that tone shift and, let your residents know that it's time for serious business?
Uh, Starting with the one that everyone deals with, weather, we generally, once it gets to National Weather Service issuing a warning, warning puts us in that mode. If it's for us, having a little bit of a heads up, I know, say in other areas of the country, you would not deal with a hurricane, but you may deal with uh, winter weather, blizzards, that kind of thing, where you get some advanced warning. This air mass is coming this way, and you start moving into, yeah, our EOC is getting into this level of readiness. Now it's in this level. That's when we start moving. When we get drawn into the EOC, uh, and it's fully activated, the tone shifts. Our emergency comms plan goes into effect at that point. We do issue a statement on all other city social that lists what the primary and official uh, channels are going to be, and this is where you go. And then we also use our social in conjunction with our our website. And we usually do what's called Storm Center for weather related things. We have montbellevue.net/storm center. On a day like today, when it's beautiful and sunny outside, it's full of preparedness information. When we're in an actual activation, that all becomes storm specific, and it gives us a single point that we use. We give good updated information on social, then we let everyone know montbellevue.net/storm center. It's like that's where you're going to go in depth. So that's we use them together. Um, and then of course I mentioned that we are the global hub of natural gas liquids. And again, you get lulled into a beautiful sunny day in Mont Belvieu, Texas. Um, but there have been those days where I've seen the plume happen, and the tones go off. Um, I'm also the PIO for the fire department. The radio on my desk goes off, and it goes from a sunny day to a bad day very quickly, and that kind of thing puts us into a crisis communication mode. So there, like everybody else, there's that uniqueness in your community uh, that can shift a day quickly. So just be prepared for that, and be ready to have that tone shift and bring that plan out to engage with the incident and with your residents.
That's great. My next question is, what kinds of obstacles do you face when handling a crisis, and how do you overcome those, especially with respect to social media?
Right. Well, we are pretty fortunate that for whatever reason, Mont Belvieu is heavily Facebook connected. Before I got here, that's where the people just decided they wanted to be, and continue to be. We're starting to move into threads. We have never been a Twitter/X community, but we are starting to look at threads. We are also very heavily Instagram connected. So it really is having that holistic approach and shifting message and tone across all the platforms. And that's really where Social News Desk does help us, is that we can hit all those platforms at once. And then beyond that, we usually go social first, then it's web, and then depending on the uniqueness of the event, we would look at other physical ways to get the word out, like our electronic bill, marquee at our city park, putting those alert messages there, so that people know you need to go look. Flip open your phone, get on your computer. We're pushing information out there's an incident, we need to let you know. So that's really how we tier that. We do go social first, then web, and then our other unique physical channels.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the preparedness you guys have as far as understanding in advance where your audience is and really being able to focus your efforts there. So you're not just kind of spraying and praying, as they say. You're able to
Right.
really focus on exactly where your audience is and know that you're going to reach them. So my last question here is, how do you prepare other stakeholders outside of your department to think about the communications team during a crisis and make sure that they're included in discussions?
I would say making sure that you're staying prepared and involved on sunny days. What other things are you engaged in? And get yourself a seat at the table and be willing to help with the small things that your organization needs on a day-to-day type situation, because then you're building that trust. You constantly have that seat at the table, and so then it's like you're missed if you're not there when everything starts to kind of hit the fan, right? Everyone's like, whoa, wait, we need to get comms in the room. Um, we also work with a lot of outside agencies. We have a great relationship with Chambers County, which is where we're located. And then we work a lot and cross train our with our industrial partners. About once a year, we actually do media training with ExxonMobil. They bring us in so that we have the city, PD, fire in the room with all of the ExxonMobil execs that are here at our plant, and we make sure we all go through interviews together. We all go through a press conference. We put together and execute a press conference together to make sure that we're getting those reps in. It's not just a plan on paper. It's not just that, hey, how you doing at Chamber of Commerce events. We really know each other, and we've had to get those reps in together, and we are working on fostering more of that with other businesses, with our school district, and with our other industrial partners here in town, to get that same level of cooperation and reps. Just getting in the trenches together. And it may not be pretty, but I'd rather it not be pretty on a rando Thursday than have it not be pretty when everybody's counting on us and the cameras are there and all the news crews. We're pretty fortunate. We're between two different media markets, and both of them pretty well leave us alone until they don't.
Yeah.
And then I've had those days. There was a day where we had I was also at the time still volunteering with our fire department, so I was on the engine. I came in. We had a pipeline strike inside the fence. Obviously resulted in a very large fire. We responded because there were effects outside the fence on the city side. I was on the first due-in engine, helped establish water, got everything flowing. We started suppression, and then I could feel my phone and my bunker gear just going nuts, just buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. So I told my assistant chief, I'm sorry, you know how it goes with me. I've got to change roles. He's like, go for it. I'm, halfway down the road trying to make my way, I'm walking out to the command point, and I'm answering, phone calls from every TV station in Houston. I'm getting calls from Beaumont. I'm getting calls from the radio stations in Houston and Beaumont. Hey, can I get you on camera? We're standing out here. We think we're at the right spot. Can we get you on camera? Can you meet us here? Yep. So I'm diverting, and not my prettiest moment, but walking down the street. Now I'm half in, half out of my bunker gear. I'm soaking wet with sweat and water, and then I've got to go down there. I actually had someone ran from the command point. They drove down and gave me, because I had my helmet on, and underneath underneath my bunker gear, I've still got my khakis on and all that kind of stuff because I left from the office, but they drove a cap down to me so that I could at least put a cap on and get my helmet off and not, look like a crazy person. But that's the thing. It's like, and then by the time I got to the command point, I was already halfway in. I met up with my guys, with my emergency manager, with my fire chief, with the assistant chief. And I'm like, okay, I was downrange. Here's what I saw. Now they fill me in. I'm able to coordinate with people that I know from industry. And I'm like, tell me what you know. Let's start working on those joint statements. And we weren't necessarily starting from scratch. And now that our team has grown to 3, now I know if we've got someone downrange, if we've got someone at the incident, we also have someone back in the EOC. We're on shorthand. We know what we're doing, and then we know how to handle what's going on in the EOC as well as what's going on scene, and we can coordinate and make that communication out to the residents a lot more effective.
Yeah, so literally having, people in the room in both places. That's great.
Absolutely.
You totally reminded me of the slogan back when we worked in TV, where trust is earned. And I feel like the communications department, not just with your public, but also with the other stakeholders and other departments and agencies, just earning that trust on both sides really makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. I know we're a little bit over time, but thank you to the folks who hung with us a little bit later. Be sure to download our social media stakeholder plan template at the QR code on your screen. And if you haven't done so already, Brian mentioned this when we were talking last week. He suggested taking the FEMA course IS 42.A, which is Social Media in Emergency Management. And this is a free FEMA course that offers a continuing education credit. And it's also a prerequisite for other FEMA PIO courses, PIO Basic and PIO Advanced training. So definitely encourage you guys to check that out. And that brings us to the end of our webinar today. If you're not familiar with Social News Desk and would like to learn more about us, please go to socialnewsdesk.com and request a demo with our team. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for your time and attention today. And we hope you got a lot out of our webinar. Thanks so much.